Hey everybody, just popping on to do a little video. I want to keep it short as well. So I just said today that I would pop on and go through some unhelpful thinking that we all had or have in our lives. And I just said I'd do a little video on some of the unhelpful thinking that comes up. I notice that sometimes in my one-to-one sessions, when I talked before about patterns that we have, and in one-to-one sessions when I'm really listening to people, you start to hear these unhelpful thinking patterns that they have. So I'm just going to share some of them. The first one is all or nothing thinking. So we kind of all know this, but some people think it's either this way or it's that way, and there's no in between. Everything's just black or white, and this can really hold us back as well, because in our life, in personally and at work, in all aspects, if we're only thinking in one way and we're not open to thinking in any other way, it can be really hard. So overgeneralization, then, that is when we pick a certain group of people and have an opinion on that group. We generalize that group of people. And a quick way to describe that is when you hear people say, all women are like this, or all men are like this. So that is overgeneralization. So mental filtering then is when people can mentally filter out parts of their life. And you see this, when people have trauma or a lot of things go wrong for them in their life, they can really filter out some of the traumas that has happened, but also some of the good times as well. And when I'm doing one-to-ones, when you say to people, was there any good times? It really stops them and they start to think about it, and they say, well, do you know what, we did have this and this happened and that happened, and they do start to remember it, because sometimes we do filter out when there's been a lot of bad things that has happened to us. We start to filter out the good. So disqualifying the positive then. So this is very similar to mental filtering, but it's when we see the positive, we acknowledge that there is a positive, but then we discount it almost straight away. I have an example here of, if you get praise at work, a person can see the positive and then they say, oh, he has to praise me or he'll look bad. So it's straight away, you can see that something happened, but then all of a sudden you discount that bit of positivity that was there. Another one is mind reading. You think you know what the person is thinking already. A lot of people do this, and I have an example here saying, oh, I'm not going to go for that job because that guy doesn't like me. So straight away you're holding yourself back, because you're coming up with what that person is thinking, and you have no idea then, it isn't the truth. It's just a belief that, you think that you know what that person is thinking. The next one then is fortune telling. So this is where we look at the future and we see all the negative things, things that haven't even happened, and we see it all negatively. I have one example here, is like, oh, I'm never going to get my own home. And you're looking into the future and you're seeing that you're never going to get your own home. So then, you're really just telling your mind that you don't want it. So maximization and minimization then, this is where we blow things out of proportion, and we can blow it out in a big way or we can blow it out in a small way. And I think, in therapy as well, the minimization is a big thing, because a lot of people minimize, what has happened to them. They minimize their trauma and their experience and they play it down, but actually inside it's really hurting and they really cannot heal. But it's like, they don't think they're worthy enough to say, actually, you know what, that really hurt me. And that's really important. You can see it when people are really minimizing situations. So emotional reasoning then is when we think everything we feel is real. So you need to ask yourself, how else could I feel about this? And you have to be careful when you're talking to people about this, because people, they really think they have to accept the emotion that comes in straight away. And I've said this before about giving yourself that time, because sometimes anger can just fly in and you can just feel really angry about something. But if you give it that space the anger to sit in you and give it that space. You know, okay, I feel the anger, but actually, do I really need to feel this anger on such a high level? So that's the emotional reasoning. Okay, the should statement then as well. This is something that came up for me today. I kept saying I should do a video, and you know, a lot of people will bring in the I should do this and I should do that, and really they're not getting anything done. So we need to change it to I must, because when we keep saying I should, it holds no power. And when we change it to I must, so today I changed it to I must get that video done today, it just has a bigger drive. So labeling then and mislabeling, this is where we label ourselves and we label other people. If somebody is, you know, saying, an older person is saying stuff to you, you might label a person, this is just an example, you know, you might label somebody as being old and grumpy, and you accept the situation or what's being said. We label ourselves as well, you know, saying I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough. You know, you're labeling yourself that you cannot do certain things because of what you are, which, you know, isn't true. So personalization then is when we take everything personal, we blame ourselves for everything, and we can do this on a massive scale, and we can do it on a smaller level as well, but we are not in control of other people and things. So we need to stop blaming ourselves all the time, and we need to stop, sometimes we do need to stop taking things so personal, because, you know, people can come at us with stuff and it's really nothing to do with us, it's to do with what's going on for themselves, but they are projecting it onto you. So then there's control, and we think we have control over everything, or we should have control with everything, and that can be really hard for people, you know, if they have that control, thinking that they have to be in control of situations. But look, you cannot, you know, you cannot be in control of people or things, and you know, that is life, and things happen that are out of our control, but that can be really hard. The fallacy of fairness. So some people think that other people should be so fair to them as they are to others. That's a massive one as well. You know, you can hear a lot of people saying, I would never have done this to them and they did this to me. And, you know, and it can really, really hurt, and it can be really hard. But I think if we can just understand that we are all different, you know, and what we think is fair, and what we would never treat somebody like, you know, in a certain way, but then they do it to you. And it's a bit like that, you know, taking it personal. I think it's more of, we have to learn from that and learn, well, actually, they're not the same person as what I am. You know, and they, you know, we don't know a person's situation or what's going on for them. We can't, it said here, we can't expect others to react the same as we do. We all have different lives, different stories, and different circumstances. So the fallacy of change is when we think we can change people. And this is a big thing as well, especially when you're doing, you know, healing and therapy like we're doing. You know, it's, you know, we can't change a person unless, you know, they're open to change, but they're also open to doing some work around it as well. The only person we can change is ourselves. And then the last one is always being right. So, you know, if you think you're always right, you'll never grow. It just holds you back. And I suppose none of us are, you know, there's no one person out there who is always right. And, you know, if we can be more open to not being right all the time, it's much better. So they're just some little things that, you know, that can come up for people when you think of like the unhelpful thinking and the patterns of that, and how we bring that forward into situations. So thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it.